Sheffield Wednesday have been relegated. The top six are feeling the pressure, and can Gary Rowett keep Leicester City up?
Sounds awful and the whole fans are going to call me, so please don't say this, but I just can't take them seriously.
Oxford have got a big opportunity to rack up some points.
And let's hope we see Sheffield Wednesday back in the Championship soon.
You know what, if you said to me that us and Coventry would be in the top two, I'd probably laughed at you, to be honest.
Right, guys, let's jump straight into it. Gab, I'm coming to you first because unfortunately we've already lost a team. It's only February. Sheffield Wednesday relegated, and it came at the place they least wanted it to happen. 2-1 defeat to Sheffield United. A bit of hope with the second half performance, but ultimately just not been good enough this season by any stretch.
Well, it's off the field that it hasn't been good enough, and I think that dictates a lot. I've spoken to people who have worked with Henrik, especially under Danny Röhl, and they think he's a very good coach, and I think he's just been put in this impossible situation where when you've got those issues at the top of the club, and they've just been corrected somewhat this season under Wigfield, sort of interim sort of ownership, if you like. But they desperately need some clarity now. I really feel for Wednesday. It's because they've had to persevere through a season that everyone knew from the start was going to be a hiding to nothing. And fair play to the ones that have still gone home and away in these circumstances. But yeah, it's a tough season. Fair play to them for showing a bit of fight. Definitely the red card for Calvin Phillips helped them salvage some sort of respectability in that second half. And I'm sure from their point of view, they'll be glad that it wasn't a total hammering. But to be relegated in February at the home of your worst enemies, yeah, I don't think relegations get more humiliating than that. So a really tough time for Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, presumably you echo those thoughts, John, in terms of Wednesday going down. We knew it was happening in August, didn't we?
Yeah, it was definitely happening in August. I would say it's relief probably for Sheffield Wednesday now. It's time to reset, go again. Like Gab said, there's going to be a different ownership most likely in the summer. Everything starts to move again, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be seeing them back in the Championship over the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, and for a Sheffield United point of view, I was slightly worried with how Chris Wilder dealt with this game in terms of after the 2-0 up at half time, I'd gone to the shops, came back, listened to the radio, went, it's 2-1 and Sheffield United are down to 10 men. He seemed to panic a little bit when Calvin Phillips was sent off. Not invited Sheffield Wednesday on, but I don't think he managed the game that well. We saw last season they clung on to 1-goal leads an awful lot as they finished on 92 points. Are you slightly concerned by Sheffield United at all, or not by this?
Not really. No, I think when the game, I think game state matters. Like as soon as that red card happened, you've also got Sheffield Wednesday fans and the team wanting to salvage at least something and make it respectable, because if Calvin Phillips doesn't get sent off, you're looking at that game thinking it's probably 4-5-0, to be honest. But it gave them a bit of glimmer of hope, and they threw everything at it because you have nothing to lose and you want to do something for the supporters. But for me, I'm not really concerned about Sheffield United. I still think they're a really strong side, like I seen when they played against Middlesbrough, and I think they'll keep up with that 2 points per game.
And let's hope we see Sheffield Wednesday back in the Championship soon. Hope they get their off-the-field issues sorted and put a good team together in League One next season. Let's start at the top of the league. My team Coventry won 2-0 at West Brom to go 3 points clear with other teams struggling, and we'll come to those other teams shortly. Maybe we should start with West Brom though, Gab, because no goals now in 3 games under Eric Ramsey, the last 3 league games.
Yeah.
It's really concerning what we're seeing from them. I think they had 1 shot on target against Coventry.
Well, they had a 3-0 loss at Portsmouth a couple of weeks ago, and there was some initial hope after that was the bottoming out period, and they did stabilise defensively. They got clean sheets against Stoke City and at St Andrews, my team Birmingham City, another goalless draw, and it looked somewhat like they'd been able to find some kind of reorganisation, but they've not really been able to build on that. And then I think you have to have massive worries for West Bromwich Albion. They've got some good individual players in there, I still think, but from a fitness point of view, I would certainly question where they're at. And I'm not quite sure that Eric Ramsey is the manager that I'd put my faith in. And it's really tough when it comes to managerial conversations at this stage of the season, because there is that contradiction between what's fair to a manager, because I don't think if we're talking about fairness, we should be judging Eric Ramsey within less than 10 games. And at the same time that West Bromwich Albion, I think relegation to League One could be disastrous for the club. And they might think that they've got to take whatever actions are necessary to make sure that they do stay up. So some difficult decisions ahead for Shilin Patel, I think.
Yeah, and where are you at with Ramsey at the minute, Johnny? Because it's not getting better. It's getting worse. He's not won a game yet.
Yeah, it's not getting better, is it? I share sympathy the same as Gab, where how much can you implement as a coach when it's Saturday, Tuesday? It's very, very, very hard and very difficult to stamp your authority on things. The out of possession stuff is something that you can really control as a manager, but they've arguably got worse with Mason leaving and then him coming in. But ultimately, it's a results point. It's a results game.
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting the results, and do you press the panic button? I would love to hear more around West Brom fans and whether they think it's the right decision. But for me, every time I've watched West Brom under Ramsey, I think they've stuck the gaff out, and ultimately, I think he might go.
They're playing such a basic 4-4-2 right now, and he came in wanting to play 3 at the back, I think, in this system, and he's very quickly gone back to a 4-4-2 and tried to make them more solid. But they've got no attacking threat whatsoever. And they've got some decent forward players. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
You've got Mickey Johnston, who's not starting at the moment, who I think can be one of the best wingers in the league. You've got Anna Hegabo, who had a fantastic run of form around the sort of early to middle part of the season. He's not been scoring the goals. So I think some big questions need to be asked there for sure.
Yeah, and we look at the likes of Blackburn and Leicester changing managers, more experienced managers, and you do worry for West Brom. Point on Coventry, Jack Rodoni looks like he might be getting back to his best, scored a wonderful goal. Obviously, built on that win over Boro, which we might talk about later, Johnny, to stay top of the league. It's a big week coming up. Sheffield United away coming up, so see how we get on in midweek, but pretty solid and not very competitive from West Brom. Bringing us to Boro 0, Oxford 0. Johnny, do you want to take over here, mate? I've been impressed with Oxford recently. Coventry drew 0-0 with them at home as well. But frustrating one for Boro?
No, I thought Oxford were magnificent out of possession, really strong low block. They came with a plan to frustrate Middlesbrough and then get them on the break, and they could have been 1 or 2-0 up in the first half and hit the bar, hit the post, and second half, Middlesbrough did change it slightly, they tweaked it to a 4-2-3-1 more in possession, and try to stretch the pitch out a little bit more like you do with a low block. And we created 3 chances in the second half, and we didn't score. So it's one of those games. Another day, you probably win that game 2 or 3-0. But for me, Oxford, fantastic. Honestly, brilliant out of possession, really well organised, well drilled, and I could have got more.
Could I just ask you, Johnny, from an opposition perspective, what did you think of the likes of Jamie McDonnell? Because he's someone who's gained a lot of plaudits in his loan spells in League 2 with Colchester and League 1 with Mansfield. I think he's a sort of defensive midfielder, very tenacious. Was he someone who stood out to you at the Riverside?
He did, but I think it was more of a collective unit. I know we spoke about McDonnell previously, and we think that he could be a player that you could really build around from an Oxford side of things if you want to keep him more permanently. But I think for us, I thought with Oxford, the very physical nature of the team, if you want to knock balls into the box, big or 6-foot defenders, heading them out. So Middlesbrough had to try and play around them, but sometimes with held ball, that you can become very narrow, especially when you've got like Matt Target, whose profile is to come in more centrally. It was a very congested middle of the pitch where if you just had maybe a winger or you pulled someone out a little bit wide, like we did in the second half, we would have created more and more chances. But yeah, McDonnell's good. I thought Will Lancashire was sensational.
I think just going to move it on to Middlesbrough, Johnny, I feel like it's been a very common theme for Middlesbrough over the last 10 years where you'll have an amazing right-hand side and then like someone who can take people on and get to the byline and just be this amazing. You had Adama Traore, for a while Isaiah Jones was that.
Ben Doak as well.
Ben Doak, Callum Britton always seems to have been a strong point. And for me, what Middlesbrough always seem to miss is that left-hand side, that sort of something to balance things out. And I always feel like you've never quite found that.
Yeah, well, we had Ryan Giles, didn't we, at one point, which definitely helped. But I think when you've watched Middlesbrough over the last 3-4 seasons, it's all about bringing that left side midfield into more of a central position, the half space, and then hopefully your wing backs create the width. But I think profile's probably been an issue. Matt Target isn't that type of player. Ryan Giles was. Alex Bangura is, but he can't keep fit. And when you had Luke Thomas there as well, he's again similarly that player who just can't really make a difference going forwards. And yeah, we've struggled with that profile. But hell ball is all about can be about wing play at times. Get the right wingers and the right profile to take men on and cause that cut back. But we've not really seen that just yet. But I think Sarmiento might be a nice little outlet for us. Yes, he's going to play. If he plays on that left-hand side instead of McGree, then yeah, we can stretch a game a little bit more. But yeah, you're right, we don't have that profile yet.
I want to get back onto Oxford and their upcoming fixtures because they're 5 points from safety now. They've played Middlesbrough away and Coventry away very recently. Their upcoming fixtures: Stoke away midweek, West Brom at home at the weekend, Preston away, Blackburn at home, Charlton at home, their next 5. Gab, 5 games that they can save their season here if they get a few wins on the board. They're 5 points away. They're drawing too many games. If they get a few wins here, they can reel in one of West Brom, Leicester. What do you reckon?
I think they can. Yeah, I've been very impressed by their performances under Matt Bloomfield and Mike Dodds. I've spoken on this podcast before. I think they're going to be a good managerial duo for Oxford United. They've probably not got the wins that they would like, but I'd also say that the fixtures in their first 9 games or so have been pretty tough, and I imagine there's an easier run coming up. So Oxford have got a big opportunity to rack up some points if they can build on that performance at the Riverside.
And when you look at Leicester and you look at West Brom as well, you would be, if you're in Oxford's position, you're thinking, well, actually, we've got a really good chance here still.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Millwall 1, Pompey 3. One of the most surprising results of the weekend, Johnny. Massively impressed with Portsmouth recently, and it felt like this result was a result of their recent good performances that have maybe not paid off. Finally, they got a win, and an amazing win at the Den.
Yeah, what was it, 2 defeats in 8 now for Portsmouth. Really turned a corner since the turn of the year. I think it was after that 5-0 drubbing of Bristol City. They've really started to turn things around. They've improved the squad, the floor of it. So John Mousinho has a bit more of like more what's the word? Availability and ability to change things in games. And for me, was it 2 back-to-back 3-1 wins over Millwall? Might have the number, to be honest. But yeah, I think they're really good value, Portsmouth at the moment. They had a really difficult start in this year, not that October time where they just couldn't win a game. And now I think that they're in a good position. They'll definitely climb up the table. But that Millwall win, well, it's a great win, isn't it, for them, to be honest? It's a statement win, but sometimes teams just have your number, and I think Pompey just have Millwall's number.
And we're talking about this top 6. Coventry, the only team prior to the weekend who won in the top 6 this weekend. So Millwall lost, Ipswich, who we'll come to, lost, Holland as well. No, don't like to mention it at all. I'm very happy this weekend, as you can tell. I wanted to shout out Gustavo Caballero on loan from Santos. First of all, amazing that Portsmouth can get a player on loan.
I love that. It's such what a lead.
And he looked brilliant. He looked really good. Obviously scored the opening goal. I think the wingers are really important for Portsmouth staying up. They look to have got a bit of a gap here. Do you want to take Millwall, Gab? Any concerns for them, or just a one-off result, as Johnny says, of Pompey got their number? Yeah,
the left side of Millwall's defence looked a little bit shaky, I thought. They asked a lot of Jake Cooper in that game, and I felt for it a little bit because I don't think his teammates quite did the job required of him. So definitely some question marks for Alex Neil to iron out a little bit. I really like what Millwall are building in terms of the bigger picture. I think they've got some really talented young players, especially out wide. They've got some very exciting players as well. Huge fan of Femi Aziz. I think he's one of the most exciting widemen in the Championship. So, I think the overall trajectory for Millwall is good. But I wanted to talk about Portsmouth because I think they've been playing well for a few weeks now. I remember the Sheffield United game a couple of weeks ago, and they lost 1-0 that one through a last-minute goal, but they'd played really well. And I think there was some frustration around Portsmouth fans for, we're not putting away our chances, we're not finding that clinical edge. Well, in the last 2 games, they've got back-to-back wins, and they've found that ruthlessness in front of goal. So
I'll add on that as well, Gab. Earlier in the season, they weren't creating the chances, so it's funny now that they are creating them, but they can't put them away, which is always a good sign. And even those games against Preston and also against Sheffield United, the 2 defeats that they've had in the 8 games, they've dominated those games as well. So it's a really good omen for them, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they keep building it. Because I'm a big fan of John Mousinho and what he's been doing at Portsmouth. I think it's just been a case of player quality that's been the issue. If they are starting to raise that floor now, yes, they've had some good loans, but I think now this is probably the time for them to raise up the table and hopefully finish around mid-table.
Yeah, be a good end to the season, I think, for Portsmouth. Wrexham 5, Ipswich 3. I mean, Johnny, we're expecting Ipswich to get going at some point, and they keep slipping up, and there's a lot of frustration from their fans, a bit of murmurings of discontent around Kieran McKenna. They were 3-2 up here and lost 5-3, but a very tough away game. What do we make of this one? Yeah,
it was interesting to see Parkinson just tweak it slightly from the FA Cup game the other week. The move to more of a 5-3-2, went man for man when they were out of possession, because you see Ipswich go into that 3-2-5 shape. And what I loved about Wrexham and what I love about them as a team is how quick they are on the transition. They're very, very direct. They put teams away. And that's pretty much how they cause a lot of problems for Wrexham over the weekend. So, but I think Wrexham are probably one of the teams to watch in the division right now because what I love about them is probably how direct they are and how different they are and comparable to different teams, but they've got the quality in there. Now, I think I was watching the highlights on the way and just to re-jog my memory, that Lewis O'Brien pass, by the way, for that 5th goal.
Oh, no.
Chef's kiss.
Oh, no.
Chef's kiss.
I love the Moore-Windass combination up front. It tore Coventry apart earlier in the season, and I just think if they get those two on the pitch at the same time, Gab, they score goals. Yeah,
I loved Windass's vision as well. We talk about Lewis O'Brien's pass, but I thought he played in a lovely ball. I think it might have been for Thomason, who, by the way, was signed for Bolton Wanderers as a midfielder. And Phil Parkinson has sort of retrained him into a left wing back, and he looks like a real find in that position. So yeah, really impressed with Wrexham. I think when you get Windass and Broadhead combining, that they can really create chances. So very impressive attacking performance from Wrexham, but with a few tweaks to be made defensively.
Absolutely. And Ipswich now are, if they win their 2 games in hand, which isn't a given, by the way, they're still 2 points behind Middlesbrough and 5 points behind Coventry. So really work to do for Kieran McKenna. Hull City, Johnny, slipping up this weekend. Is there? I think they've actually won the XG battle in the last 2 games that they've lost at home to Bristol City and QPR. I'm a bit worried about their defence in terms of goals conceded. 3 at home to Bristol City, 4 at home to Chelsea. Can maybe put an asterisk on that one. 3 again this weekend. Are we maybe seeing a Hull City slide?
Yeah. Yes, and all season they've been the overachievers, as you like, to be honest. If you look at the underlying numbers and the points per game, you would definitely put them in that top left quadrant of, they are overperformers as a group. What's very, very interesting in the game against Hull and QPR, that they conceded goals which they've not really scored. So they conceded off a straight corner. The free kick is fantastic from Bennett as well. So, not free kick, sorry, the strike. And for me with Hull, they're probably the one side in the playoffs where I still look at them and it sounds awful and the Hull fans are going to call me, so please don't say this, but I just can't take them seriously. It sounds awful, but they put on strings of results and you think, right, okay, yep, they've turned the corner, everything's going to be perfect, and then the next thing you know, they're putting results like that and they lose games. But I'm very, very intrigued about Hull, to be honest. They've got some really good quality players there, Matt Crooks, Ollie McBurney, Ryan Giles. They're investing, a lot in terms of wages. I don't know, Gabby. What do you think? Is it a failure for Hull if they don't get the playoffs?
I would say no, but I think it's hard to say that if you're a fan and you've created that expectation for yourself, because you can always raise expectations in football, but you can never lower them. But I think, for me, if I look at Hull City, even when they've won all their games, and I think for a lot of their fans, if they're being really honest, I think they would say the same. They've not really dominated many games in terms of running the midfield and boss games. They've had some great individual moments within matches, but they've not necessarily controlled games. And I'm not sure how sustainable that is. So it wouldn't surprise me if they dropped out of the top 6 with Wrexham and Birmingham coming into form, along with possibly others. Sheffield United, I think, are putting a run together. So, yeah, Hull on, I think.
I think it's the next 5, isn't it?
And next 5, perfect timing there, Johnny, perfect link. Derby at home, Portsmouth away, improved Portsmouth, Ipswich away, Millwall at home, Wrexham away. That's hard. That is a hard run of fixtures, and they've still got to play Coventry, and they've got to play Sheffield United away, and they've got to play Birmingham. It's quite difficult.
The old cliche is every game in the Championship's a tough one. But look, if you come out of that with, say, 8 to 10 points, you deserve to be where you are.
Yeah.
And if you're losing, then everyone's going to say, well, the XG gods have come and they've just another victim of that. So, yeah, some really difficult games for them.
Is this a first weekend we're seeing these playoff teams start to feel the pressure, Gab? What do you reckon?
Possibly. You look at Millwall and Hull losing. I would class Ipswich still in that automatic promotion race. Be interesting to see what they can do with those games in hand.
Derby County losing as well at home to at Watford, which is exactly. A bad result for them.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's partly that, and I also think the teams down the bottom, we're going to see them start to really fight. And you're looking at Portsmouth, who look much improved following their January additions. You look at Blackburn, who have got a new manager in and look much better under Michael O'Neill. So I think there's a little bit of that as well, that teams towards the bottom are getting their act together. And yeah, I think there is a bit more pressure on those teams in the playoff pack the other thing I would mention is the number of teams that are in that playoff scramble as well. I think that makes it so congested, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You're looking at Southampton, probably Sheffield United, Watford.
Yeah.
Who else can we probably put in there? Birmingham as well. I think it's about 72 points will do it this year.
Yeah.
And yes, that probably means there's more than 2 points a game for Sheffield United, but on me, I think 72 will probably do it.
They've got a lot of work to do. A massive result, Gab, this weekend for Birmingham City. Probably the most eye-catching result in the Championship, winning away at Norwich. They are now 2 points off the playoffs. Things are going well for Birmingham. How impressed were you this weekend?
Yeah, delighted with James Beadle as well, because there's been lots of calls among fans this season for Ryan Alsop to be our number one goalkeeper, because he started in our title-winning season and gained lots of plaudits for the quality of his distribution. So that's made it difficult in some ways for Beadle, but I think he definitely answered his status at Carrow Road and put in an outstanding performances, and some of his saves were unbelievable in Norfolk. So from that point of view, I think it's really encouraging. I also like the combination between August Pleask and Marvin Deutsch as well. We've signed Carlos Vicente as well, who looks like a really good player in that, coming in off the right hand side. So I think a lot of our January additions, we've had a really good January window, and I think that's been the difference. I think if we hadn't had that, we might have finished maybe top half, but I think with them, I think we've got a good chance for anyone of making the playoffs.
Yeah, I think storming forward would be interesting to see how you get on in the next week, because it's Millwall away and Boro at home. Obviously quite decisive fixtures there.
Kind of like I'm absolutely petrified for that game next Monday. And was it 1.9 points per game at home? Is it near enough?
Probably so.
Yeah, absolutely insane. I mean, Chris Davies has done fantastic. I know January's played a massive part of that, but I remember coming on this show maybe about 6 to 8 weeks ago, maybe a bit longer, probably in December time, and we were like, "Ooh, maybe Chris Davies is under the cosh a little bit." But he's turned it around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Chris Davies has always been a fantastic manager for us. I'd probably look a little bit more above him in terms of the summer recruitment, and whether Craig Gardner, technical director, is the absolute best person we could have in that role. But yeah, I'm a massive fan of Chris Davies. I think he's helped change the mentality of the club. But I'm wondering, Johnny, would you want to shake hands on a point now for Monday night?
Nah, I'll go for it. I'll go. We need the points. But no, to be fair, I would take a point. It's a really difficult place to go. We don't have an amazing record. All I can think about when we play Birmingham is that Daniel Ayala offside goal in our Premier League and in our promotion season, where it should have been given and it wasn't. So
before we let Johnny ramble on, it's called you Ollie there. That's an insult. That is.
I'm not that loud. I'm not that loud.
Before I let you ramble on too much about goals that should have been given and well, we will do some match previews later on in this show. A quick question to finish off this weekend chat, lads. Do we think the relegation battle is now down to 4? Given Wednesday have already gone, is it between Oxford, Leicester, West Brom and Blackburn? But Blackburn are improving. I think Portsmouth will be fine. Johnny, how are you seeing it right now?
I think Portsmouth are fine. I think Blackburn are fine. Blackburn have been... They have been on the slide, haven't they? Until they've changed things, but for the most part, their underlying numbers are pretty solid. I think they were massively just underperforming in front of goal. Defensively, they were quite solid, but it's just very much the Ishmael effect, I think. I think they'll be fine. I think Charlton are probably the one team that may slide a little bit more, but I really like Nathan Jones and what he's doing then. They do have to come to the Riverside, and I'm expecting them to play that man-marking system.
Would you not say for Charlton especially, they've got 40 points on the board. There's 13 games to go. Probably they can be pretty bad and get 10 points, surely.
Yeah, but I think I think they will be fine. It's just when you're looking at West Brom right now, if they don't change it, and then out to Leicester.
Can I just make the other point? The reason why I'd include Charlton still just about in the conversation, I'm not saying they will go down, but I think it might be more than 50 points, because I think towards the end of the season, you tend to see the teams down the bottom put together some big wins. We saw that 2 or 3 seasons ago, I think, when Sheffield Wednesday went on a winning run under Danny Rowe, and it meant Birmingham went down. I think that, we could see something similar than that. So I'm expecting a high tide in terms of safety, in the Championship. I would still just about include Charlton in the conversation.
Yeah, I think it depends, doesn't it, on Leicester's, if they get more points deducted, because they have appealed, haven't they? So I think it's an additional point, isn't it?
I think it's so wrong that it's going to be decided at this point. I mean, we can debate points deductions, full stop, but for us still not to know whether it's the full extent of the punishment.
Yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. Johnny, because you're on the show, mate, we'll have a quick chat about Boro and Cov. It's nice being in the top two, isn't it? It's going well this season.
You know what? It's only right, Simon, that me and you are together at the top. You know, wherever you go, we follow.
Like, look at us. Look.
Who would have thought? Not me. Yeah, definitely. I think at the start of the season, you know what? If you said to me that us and Coventry would be in the top two, I'd probably laughed at you, to be honest. Coventry would probably a top six cert. Middlesbrough were, with Edwards coming in, I wasn't fully convinced that we were going to be a top six. I did say mid-table, to be honest. We had 4 wins in a row, and I was like, yeah, perfect. You know, good start, but this isn't sustainable the way we were playing.
And then Edwards had the good grace to stand aside and let somebody else who's better than him take charge.
You know, we called him a rat on our podcast, but now we're going to change it to a saint, because, you know, him going to Wolves for £3 million allowed us to get Kim Hellberg. And yeah, amazing. Honestly, who cares about the result last week, you know? Who cares?
I care. It was great. No. It was superb. Yeah. Back top of the league, you know, everything's rosy again. You're dropping points, feeling the pressure. But no, I think... I don't want to rule Ipswich out by any means, and there's still an awful long way to go. But my feeling is now that it will be a Coventry Middlesbrough top two in whatever order.
I mean, I'll shake your hand and I'll take it. It doesn't matter what order it is, I'll take it. And, you know, we've been on a journey, Simon, over the last couple of seasons. We've been on a topsy-turvy journey. You know, you've broke our hearts continuously, but we've still found a way to come back, and it's a true Cinderella story if we both do it together. And what a great story to tell for the Championship, you know, like finally, like a non-parachute team gets an automatic spot, you know.
Hopefully two.
Yeah, I mean, it's about time. It's about time, and, you know, this has been a long journey for Boro and for Coventry to get to this point, so fingers crossed we do it.
Yeah, what was I going to say? If it's 90 points, just looking at it from Ipswich's point of view, picking up what you're saying there, Simon, if we say 90 points gets you top two, that means Ipswich need 36 points from their remaining 15 games. And I certainly would by no means want to write off a Kieran McKenna side, because I think you can cut the cropper if you do that. But given the inconsistency we've seen from them recently, that does feel like it's a bit of an ask.
I think for Ipswich, it's probably going to continue at 2 points a game, as they've done pretty much. Yeah. I think they might have just dipped under that since September, but it's pretty much been that. And 2 points a game, quick maths, takes them to 84. And I think that's going to be enough. I think if Cov can get 86, 87, I think that might be enough for top two. Same for Middlesbrough. Millwall, I think, probably don't have enough to close a 6 point gap on Boro.
Yeah, I don't think Millwall will. I think that Millwall are definitely top four, you know, for the rest of the season. It's just Ipswich, those 2 games stand, isn't it? They're the ones that me and you are petrified of, because anything can happen at this point. For Middlesbrough, it's very much a case of, if we can win our home games, that takes us up to about 83, 84. Yeah. So then you're hoping for like maybe 1 or 2 wins away. And yeah,
and Middlesbrough, Ipswich still have to play each other. Obviously, a massive game.
We do away from home, and it's a really difficult game. We always struggle to get a result at Ipswich.
That's probably the big one then, though, isn't it? Because if Ipswich can beat Middlesbrough, then that pulls the gap in theory to 5 points, with Ipswich having 2 games in hand. So a lot of it could hinge on that game.
And I'm sure there'll be plenty more twists and turns towards the end of the season, including we've got a full midweek of Championship fixtures coming up. So let's look ahead to a few of them quickly. Johnny, let's start with Boro, because Gary Rowett's Leicester comes down, and it's probably a managerial change you didn't want to see when you were about to play Leicester.
No, and I'm expecting a very similar to game of what we had against Oxford at the weekend. You know, a low block, playing it very, very difficult to play through, but I think the difference between Leicester and what Oxford were, I think Leicester have more quality going forward. And I think if they do catch us on the break, then we might be in a bit of a difficult spot. So I think it's a really good appointment, though, from Leicester. I would say he's the right man for the right time and the right moment, but it could be things off the pitch which may send them down. But for me, yeah, we have to win this game. We have to win it.
A decent point actually for Leicester away at Stoke 2-2 this weekend, Gab, and they maybe should have won and couldn't quite hold on to those 3 points. I mean, you've spoken highly of Gary Rowett, and you think this is a great appointment as well.
Yeah, big fan of Gary Rowett. I think in terms of the in-season impact for a team that's struggling in the Championship, I don't think you can get much better. I think he's proven to be an extremely reliable manager at this level over the last 12 years. So yes, I expect him to make a big impact. But also, I liked the way that Leicester controlled the second half at Stoke and came very close to getting all 3 points. And I think Gary Rowett's got the sense, although he's prided himself on defensive organisation, I think he's got the sense to know that when he's got some good players, that sometimes you do need to use the ball a bit more, and I think that he has got the enough about him to realise that. I expect some form of improvement from Leicester.
Score predictions time for this one. I'm going for a very nervy 2-1 Boro win, and just to get over the line, Johnny, what will be?
I'll go 2-0 Middlesbrough.
1-0 Leicester.
I will be cheering as loudly as the Leicester fans if that's what happens.
I wasn't expecting to make Johnny Bullock cry on this podcast.
Well, you've done it now. Can we cut?
Well, you can make me cry now because it's Sheffield United Cov next up, Johnny. We are previewing Sheffield United, obviously looking reasonably good, very good at Bramall Lane as well. Big game for Coventry, big chance to put a statement out. Boro went there and won. Can Coventry do the same thing, John?
Yeah, firstly, do you not think how mad it is that we're looking at a team in 14th and we're saying, I tell you what, this could dictate everything.
Well, they threw the first 7 games of the season, didn't
It's just nuts, isn't it? But yeah, look, it's a massive, massive game. They've got a fantastic squad. Sheffield United, good manager, and Chris Wilder. Coventry's away form, not particularly great, 6-15, which I know.
1 out of 1.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the big difference with Cov right now is Onyeka in that midfield. You've changed that off possession as well. You're a lot more better structured, you're not getting overran. I think Cov actually do get a result here. I think they'll win 1-0.
More confident than I am. Gab, how do you see this one?
Well, I think Coventry are going to win. I think that victory and performance against Middlesbrough last Monday was going to prove to be quite a pivotal moment in the title race and automatic promotion race in the Championship, especially given Coventry have backed that up. So yeah, I'm going to back you to go to Bramall Lane and get 3 points. So I'm going to say 2-1. To the Sky Blues.
I'm going for a 2-2 draw, being a bit steady.
No, don't be negative.
It's not negative.
Put it on the line.
It's a very good point. 7 points from 3 games. It's very good. I'll take a point. Draw our away games, win our home games. We'll probably win the league. Tough game. Not season defining though. It felt like the Middlesbrough game, as you're right. Drew a line under it. It was absolutely massive. Yeah. Managed to back that up with a really good win at West Brom, but they're really poor right now. So it'd be very interesting to see how we get on Wednesday night. And we finish with a massive game at the bottom. It's West Brom versus Charlton. Gab, I'll come to you first here. If they lose this one, I think it might be curtains for Eric Ramsey. I think it's that serious, this game.
Yeah, and also I think it would mean Charlton would stay up because I think you get to 43 points at this stage, and I think you're very close, aren't you? Yeah. I worry. I think managers who come in season and don't make an instant impact, they're always in danger when it gets the last 15 games or so because it's do or die time. So yeah, I'm worried for West Brom. I'm worried for Eric Ramsey. I think it's going to be a goalless draw.
Oh, no goals for West Brom again. That'll be 4 games in a row, won't it, in the league without a goal. Johnny, can they get a rare win here?
It's a case of if not when. You know, I think if they don't win West Brom in midweek, then it's probably curtains for Ramsey, to be honest, and maybe curtains for the season. And if Charlton win, like I've said there, what a fabulous achievement that is, by the way, from Nathan Jones. Probably one of the most underrated stories of the season, to keep them up and to play well with the squad that he's got, to be honest. So for me, yeah, it's a massive game, but I'm going to go with a Charlton 2-1.
I think Charlton will win this 1-0. I don't think I'll say curtains for West Brom's season, because I think if they lost this game 3 or 4-0, they'd change manager and actually have a better chance of staying up. Whereas if they draw 0-0, I think it might go on a little bit longer. Yeah. I'd never want to call for a manager to be sacked. I think Ramsey could be a really good coach, but it's just a wrong fit at the wrong time, it feels like. Gab, what was your score prediction?
0-0.
0-0. I've gone for a 1-0 Charlton win.
2-1 Charlton. Just, Gab, one final thing. What name, if Ramsey was to go, who would you put in charge?
I would, who's the manager? I mean, Sean Dyche.
Sam Allardyce return to West Brom.
I'm sure Neil Warnock will do one more on the retirement tour.
You have to go for an experienced manager, though. I think that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
And see if you can get him out of danger. Right, Johnny, Gab, thank you very much for joining me. We'll be back later in the week for our Sportsman Untitled show, which will be focusing all about Middlesbrough and their recent past. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Please do like and subscribe. Get your thoughts in the comments down below. But we'll see you later in the week.